Okay, it's a great pleasure for me to start this conference today. Maybe you know that this is not our first conference and even not a second one. It's the fourth time that we gather together to discuss system dynamics approach and its application to different topics in finance and economy. And you know that our project has different ways of implementation. Some of you started in Norway, some of you are going to start in Norway, and it's a 10th anniversary this year. And today we have a great pleasure to see David Witt, who is the founder and leader of our project. And all of this is happening because of David.
No.
And his energy, his desire to cooperate with our university. And it's a great pleasure for me to invite David for welcome speech.
Thank you very much, Elena. And I must say that this is a team project. And it was really Irina's idea in 2008 that we should do something like this. And the two of us worked together for 3 or 4 years before we finally found the critical mass of resources to make it happen. And we've been very fortunate that along the way, so many energetic and bright, clever people have put their motivation in line with ours, and we've produced, I think, a very effective program. We're going on 10 years, and we've had well over 100 students and faculty members visit Bergen and study system dynamics. We have, I guess, 5 new courses, 1 in Bergen and 2 at each university in Kyiv and Lviv. And one of the objectives that we had at the very beginning, although we were certainly grateful to receive all the funding we received from the Foreign Ministry of Norway, is we wanted the project to be self-sustaining, and I think we've achieved that. So if regardless of what the future holds in terms of sources of funding and that sort of thing, I believe we've established something that's going to last a long time. And it's only because everyone in Kyiv and Lviv, as well as in Bergen, have put together, I think, an incredible project, an incredible effort. And it's been a pleasure for me to be associated with it. So as you were taking the photograph and everyone turned on their cameras, and now half of them are turned off again, but I guess that's okay. It was so nice to see the faces of so many people that I've worked closely with, so many students who've been to Bergen, and on the many occasions I've been to Kyiv and Lviv and to work with you directly there. So it's just really nice, not only to have this academic and this scientific success, but also to develop these personal ties between our 2 countries. And so I couldn't be more pleased with what we've accomplished, and I think where we're going. And having the team in Kyiv and the team in Lviv has just made it a real pleasure, because everyone pulls together and works hard. And it's the greatest kind of camaraderie and collegial thing I've ever seen. So it's really a pleasure for you to invite me to say a few words, and I'm going to keep it short, because the really interesting things are ahead of us, and that's all these presentations that the professors and the students have done to show how they're using system dynamics in their own research. So I wish everyone a very successful day, and the holiday season is coming up, and I hope it's a happy time for all of you and a happy time for everyone in Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. And maybe not of all you know that not only students go to Norway, not only we have lectures of David in Ukraine and this conference, but we also have a special project together with Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. And David and some part of students are taking part in developing the strategy of reintegration of Donbass region, and they use system dynamics for this. And we are very happy to start this conference with the speech of Diana and Marina, who are these students that take part in the project, and they will tell us about their research and their contribution. So please, Marina and Diana from Lviv, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. I will share screen.
Yes, yes.
So first of all, my name is Diana, and I work on the project dynamic planning model for Donetsk and Lugansk region with Marina and other Ukrainian students under the supervision of Professor David Witt, and in collaboration with Ukrainian experts during our exchange semester in the University of Bergen. So we thank to David Witt very much for the opportunity we had to be a part of this project team. Marina?
Hello, everyone. My name is Marina, and I also work on this project. It was really, it was the real task that taught us how to work with client, how the system dynamics approach can be applied to the real life project, and how to work in a team. It was really great experience. Thanks, David Witt, again for this opportunity. And so today we want to present a part of this project, exactly the system dynamics model for agriculture in Donetsk and Luhansk region.
So I will play.
Good afternoon. My name is Diana Hutsu. I am a master student of the Lviv University. My colleague Marina and I will present a system dynamic model for agriculture sector in Donetsk and Lugansk region. This model is a part of the dynamic planning model for Donetsk and Lugansk region, which was developed in collaboration with Professor David Witt at the University of Bergen. First, let's take a look on a dynamic problem. The territory of Donbass in terms of agricultural land area and yield was one of the leading in Ukraine, but beginning of the war in 2014 leads to decreasing the agriculture products. On the graph, we can see changes over time of the shown area in Donetsk and Lugansk region. So the total shown area in both regions decreased by 25% compared to 2013. In turn, in 2019, the volume of livestock decreased by 42% compared to 2013. Because of this rapid decline, the livestock production per capita in Donbass area less than national by more than 90%. Dynamic problem is the decline of the value added in the agriculture sector. The figure shows the base case scenario of the behavior of the value added in the agriculture sector from 2013 to 2031. The base case refers to the performance of the regional economy if no new policies are implemented after 2021. It is a benchmark against which policy effects are measured. In our base case scenario, there is little or no change in economy performance during the remainder of this decade. As we can see, the model behavior, which is blue line, is reasonably replicated with historical data, which is a red curve. We can see on the graph that the value added rapidly decreased during the first 2 years from 8.78 billion hryvnias in 2013 to 4.69 billion hryvnias in 2015, and after 2015 still slowly decreased. As a result, the government projection for 2031 is only 5.42 billion hryvnias. The main reason of the decline of the value added is the decreasing in output inventories, which is determined by production. Next figure shows that output inventories rapidly decreased from 2013 to 2015 from 3.8 billion to 918 million hryvnias. The decline in crop production, as well as the rapid decline in livestock, has led to low agriculture efficiency in Donetsk and Lugansk region. Another problem that affects output inventories and value added is the decline in employment. The beginning of the war led to a reduction in the activity of enterprises and migration of the region's population. Many people emigrated to other regions of Ukraine or abroad, which causes a demographic crisis. As we can see from the graph, the employment in the agriculture sector in the region will decline and reach 19,000 people compared to 35,000 people in 2013. To prevent decline in those main KPIs in the future, there should be introduced important policies implementation to increase regional GDP and make a good living condition for the population. In the next part, we will consider some of them.
Hello everyone, my name is Marina. I am a master student of Lviv University and I work in a team with Diana on this model. Now consider the model structure. The agriculture production and sales model is contained within the agriculture submodel on the supply side and interacts with the goods, services, and labor source submodels. The full agriculture submodel includes several sectors, such as production and sales, capital, labor, and productivity. Let's look at the structure of the agriculture production and sales sector. The sector has stock, output, inventory that represents resource of goods. The sales consist of final demand for agriculture and intermediate demand. This sector is connected with the submodel of demand side by final demand for agriculture. The intermediate demand is the amount of goods consumed by the industry for the production of its products. The inputs come from two business sectors, private services and goods. The value added is a key indicator which is calculated as the difference between the produced amount of goods and the intermediate demand for them. The submodel agriculture input source calculates the amount of products consumed by agriculture from other industries as well as from itself. To be able to sell the required amount of goods, the sector has to maintain sufficient amount of resource. The gap between desired inventories and the current one defines the desired inventory adjustment rate, which in turn impacts the desired production. The link between desired production and agriculture input source submodel marked as wishful thinking, due to the assumption that all necessary imports and services are fully available. This situation could be partially solved by making resource of imported goods. The availability of services is a more complicated question. For example, the situation when transportation by railroad is not available could be an obstacle for industry. Building the railroad takes a long time and a large amount of investment. So we should know about such bottlenecks and add this restriction to the model. Production depends on production capacity and its utilization. Outputs from this sector are value added and order inputs to other business sectors. So, the purpose of this sector is to reflect the amount of goods that were produced and sold. Now consider some of the possible implementation challenges. The Donetsk and Luhansk area are complex industrial zones in desperate need of modernization. Because of the dangers of further escalation of the conflict, investment isn't common to the region. The idea of the policy is to return the land to agricultural turnover in full and to realize the potential of the agriculture industry by increasing crop production and livestock. The implementation of this policy will present certain obstacles. Some of them include security risk, investment, modern technology and equipment, infrastructure, lack of qualified workers, mine pollution of the environment, and climate change. To find out more about this project and the full updated model, you can visit the ICIS system website. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And I have a first question. It's not about the technique, but about the stage of implementation of your project. Is it now just a concept, or maybe our governance use your model? Can you tell a little bit more about the project?
So yeah, we showed first of the version of this model. Now it's updated by David on the his website. And yes, it was official concept of the government for integration Donetsk and Donbas Oblast.
Yes, I want to add that we work with David and with experts during our studying at Bergen University, and it's everything is official, and you can find a lot of information, not so a lot, but some information about this project, and hear something about David.
May I say just a word?
Yes.
Of course, we have many others who worked on this project as well. Alexei, we can see, is here, and they played a big role in the project. And the project continues even after these students, return to Ukraine. And we have extended it quite a bit in the last several months. And there's even some discussion right now. I should emphasize nothing official has been decided yet, but there is some interest perhaps in adapting this model so it becomes a full national model for Ukraine and not just a regional model. One of the obstacles that we've encountered in recent weeks, because there's so many other issues facing Ukraine right now, and there's a lot of personnel changes taking place in the ministries. And so some of the people we've been working with have been moving from one ministry to the other. And when I was in Kyiv in October, we had several meetings with key people that we think will be very important to the project going forward. We also, as some of you know, had a good meeting with the staff at the Norwegian embassy in Kyiv, and got encouragement from the staff there, including the ambassador who was in the meeting. So I've been really pleased with the momentum that was developed in the spring and the summer. Honestly, it's slowed a bit in the recent weeks because of various understandable reasons, but I'm hopeful that if we can get past this difficult period, that we will be able to put our attention back to this model, because I think it really holds some promise, I believe, for building an integrated model for Ukraine. One of the things that you were seeing in the presentation by Diana and Marina is the idea that a multi-industry model could be developed and integrated with system dynamics. So it takes really an old methodology called input-output analysis, and uses a lot of the data from input-output tables to help us estimate the impact that one industry has on the other. And this has formed the basis for a much more expanded model, even since the students were working on it last spring. But it was a great pleasure to have them working with me on this. And who knows, I may come back to them and knock on their door and say, I need your help again, even though you're not in Bergen. So thank you very much for your contribution.
Yeah, thank you, David, very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think
dear
I'm going to have to leave now, and but I want to wish everyone a very successful day and good wishes for the upcoming holiday season.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Dear participants, Zoom wrote me that we have 10 minutes before the end of our session. I don't know why, because it should be the licensed Zoom I ordered. But anyway, if we have some trouble and our conference stops, then we use the same link. But I will try to cope with this problem. Okay, anyway, one of the challenges of nowadays, of course, is the pandemic. And the topic of COVID is very popular now in different waves of research, how it's influenced not only our life, but also the financial system, economy, and other issues. And now I invite Verbowski Danila from Lviv to start this important topic.
Hello, a second.
Yeah, we see your
It's
presentation.
starting, right? Okay.
Yes, it's okay.
So first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference for inviting me and you all for coming here today. My name is Danil Verbowski and I'm the master student of Lviv National University. The topic of my research is the importance of quarantine in Ukraine during COVID-19 pandemic. So to begin with, some data on the pandemic in Ukraine. According to the official information portal of the Ministry of Health of Ukraine as of December 8, 2021, COVID-19 was detected in 20,400 people in Ukraine and 2,450 were hospitalized. 465 people died from the infection and 24,500 recovered, with a total of 3,500,000 cases of infection, 19,000 deaths, and 3,140 recoveries have been recorded since the beginning of the pandemic in Ukraine. Yeah. Also, almost every day, Ukraine is in the top 10 countries with the highest increase in the number of infected per day, and the countries with the highest increase in the number of deaths per day. So partly, maybe it's because the Ukrainian population is at higher risk of infection and a fatal outcome due to all three groups of risk factors, first of which are about 1/4 of the population are above 60 years of age. It's around 11 million people. About 1/4 of the adult population smoke. It's also around 11 million people. 1 in 10 Ukrainians suffer from the diabetes. 1 in 3 from hypertension, and 1 in 4 from obesity. And also partly because in Ukraine, the problem of general reluctance to wear masks in public places and keep social distance as required by quarantine measures is still relevant, and the share of vaccinated people is only 27.6%, while at the same time, similar value for the entire population of the world is 42.7%. It's also worth noting that at the time of writing, Ukrainians are experiencing a wave of Delta strain, which is considered the most contagious of all COVID-19 mutations. Considering this, I decided to show with the system dynamics model how quarantine affects the spread of COVID-19. So to do this, I made a complex CIR model. CIR models are usually used for modeling pandemics. So I used it, and for clarity, used it on the example of population of 1,000 people for a period of 200 days. So let's take a look at the model. So it's the first part. We have susceptible and infectious. We have contact frequency, which is now equals 10 to total population, as I mentioned, 1,000 infectivity. So its real average value is 3%. So we have susceptible contacts, which are susceptible multiplied by contact frequency, and probability of contact with infected, which are infectious, divided by total population. In turn, we have contacts between healthy and infected, which are susceptible contacts multiplied by probability of contact with infected. And then we have infectious rate, which are infectivity multiplied by contacts between healthy and infected. So once you get infectious, you will most likely recover after some period of time. So it's represented by duration, and it's 14 days, like 2 weeks. It's an average duration of COVID in mild cases. So we have recovery rate flow, and it's infectious divided by duration right now. And also there is a chance that the infectious person will die. So we have to have a death rate flow and death stock. So fatality rate is also 3%. It's the average in the world. So death rate is calculated as recovery rate multiplied by fatality rate. Also, once you have recovered from COVID-19, you may still be infected a second time, and this is represented by reinfection rate flow. So now we also have immunity ratio, and it affects our recovery rate flow. So now it's infectious divided by duration and multiplied by immunity ratio. And the reinfection rate is recovery rate divided by immunity ratio and multiplied by 1 minus immunity ratio. So now let's run. Let's name it contact frequency equals 10. Let this run. As we can see, we have the graphs like that. So what I forgot to mention, a second, is those values. COVID-19 infectivity, immunity ratio, duration, fatality rate. Those are the variables that we cannot control at the moment due to a lack of information about the virus. So the only parameter on which we can act as a society is the contact frequency. This is why we will compare now the run with the contact frequency equal 10 and contact frequency equal 5. So let's change to this value to 5 and just run this contact frequency of 5. Okay. As we can see, when the contact frequency is lower in the graphs, the virus infects fewer people in a longer time. So then the disease might not spread to a larger segment.
Yes, it's great.
Okay, so I'll remember. We compare contact frequency of 10 and the contact frequency of 5. So as we can see on the graphs, when the contact frequency is lower, the virus infects fewer people in a longer time. So then the disease might not spread to larger segments at all. And this efficiency of halving the frequency of contacts is explained by the fact that the growth, as shown in the graph, is not linear, but exponential. That is why it's actually very important to respect the quarantine rules. and each of us can influence the spread of COVID-19 obeying precaution methods. Remember, wear a mask, clean your hands, and keep a safe distance. Thank you. That's it. Should I stop sharing?
Sorry, something went wrong with my micro.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Yes, you can stop sharing.
Mhm.
But maybe some of participants have some questions.
Would you like me to ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. My questions, generally speaking, I have two questions. Maybe we would have time for both of them. First is, what about vaccination? How does it impact the amount of survivals in Ukraine after
So,
COVID?
I see. Should I answer or the second?
Of course.
Okay. So, as the topic was quarantine, I decided not to add vaccinated share of vaccinated people, because in my opinion, if I would add the vaccinated people, I would have to also add like one second. Yeah, effects of vaccine for the people and types of vaccine and how it affects, and you know that like Moderna and Pfizer helps only for like no information yet if it will help for Omicron strain. So it will be the much more complex model. So I decided to start with this. So how it will affect? It will just less the. Am I sharing? Yeah, I'm sharing. So it will just less the susceptible people. So there will be like at this point, at this moment, not 1,000 as of the beginning of the run, and 750 people here in susceptible. So maybe. Sorry. So might be careful. It will be just like more people recovered if we will talk about it on this model.
Okay, that's it. And maybe you could estimate, give your estimation of such moment in social responsibility of each person. If you have any idea, how can we tell to each person what is the probability that if you don't keep quarantine measures, that you infect somebody, and what is the probability that that person would die because of your social irresponsibility? Did you have any ideas when building that model about this moment?
So my general idea was to show how less sum of contact frequency affects the spread of infection. But
okay, I'm asking because I saw it in your model, and one thing is building a model it is scientific and economic importance, and the other is how can we tell people about their responsibility as a result of this modeling?
By showing them this graph. So
okay,
I said like this.
That's it.
Yeah.
I meant.
I see. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your answer.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we know, Danila is didn't went to Bergen yet. Yes.
Yet,
So
yeah.
you started this system dynamics in Lviv University, and it's amazing, really, to have such results. Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your research and for your presentation.
Thank you.
And we will continue this challenging topic of pandemic and COVID. And we invite Ilki Volodymyr, now CMA student, to make his presentation.
Good morning, one sec. I'm share screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Dear colleagues, good morning. I would like to start by presentation a model of vaccination efficiency in Ukraine. This topic is relevant, in my opinion, now and in the coming years. Today, only 24% of population of Ukraine is vaccinated. Example, in Norway, vaccination rate is 72% as of December 2021. Lack of vaccination creates risk of collapse of the medical system and constant lockdowns. Today, the cost of treatment of patients with COVID-19 for the government ranges 35,000 to 50,000 hryvnias. Instead, it should be noted that the cost of 2 vaccines purchased by the government is about 55 hryvnias, which is 70 times cheaper for the government than spending money on the treatment of Ukrainian citizens in hospitals. In my model, I used a few metrics. Example, the efficiency of the first dose of the vaccine, the efficiency of the second dose of the vaccine, population of Ukraine, number of working population, number of healthy population, the amount of tax revenue, include this average salary and rate of tax physical persons. The cost of vaccines with open sources, cost of 1 vaccine for Ukrainian government is 216 hryvnias. The period between vaccination 1 month from first dose to second dose, mortality of the virus around the world 2%, and proportion of people retiring 1%, which people outfall from working population every years. I used Ukrainian sources and international. Ukrainian is the state statistics service and Ministry Health and site of financial analytics Minfin. I use it also international sources, include the World Health Organization and our World in Data and Worldometers. The table on the right shows the metrics and enters the model. I building the model. I created a model that consider vaccination and its impact on improving the epidemiological situation in Ukraine. On this slide, we can see first part of my model. Tells population flows and calculations the number of new cases and the number of deaths using the mortality rate, mortality rate and natural birth rate, and mortality rate from COVID, approximately 2%, and we linked the current population of Ukraine and number of new cases with probability of infection in Ukraine. On next slide, we can see impact on full population and cost of Ukrainian government, number of recovered linked with healthy population and healthy working population, and healthy working population linked with total tax revenue. And after this, we can spending money on vaccines. And I created to convert it with costs on first dose and second dose from Ukrainian government. This part of the model shows one sec. The final part of the model closes the cycle. It shows the impact of vaccination on the number of new cases. We can see linked from probability of infection in Ukraine to number of new cases. Next slide, I tell about formula of probability of infection in Ukraine. This formula included a few variables. Example, the current population of Ukraine, the available number of vaccinated population first dose is stock, and stock available number of vaccination population second dose, and we multiply on two converts. First converts is the efficiency of the first dose, and second converter is the efficiency of the second dose. Also included the current population of Ukraine. After this, we can change this number of new cases in the future. I running model, and we can see running model, launching model. Also, I created interface in Stella Architect, where the user can select several variables using different switches. Example switches efficiency of first dose and second dose from 0% to 200%. I change in this screen. First dose efficiency is 70%, second dose efficiency is 90%. We can change the period between vaccination. On the screen is 1 month from first dose to second dose. We can change costs from for government of first dose and second dose. We can run model, and on graph on the left, we can see number of new cases per month, number of vaccines, new vaccinated with the first and second dose, and the current population of Ukraine. My summary is the extended model might include testing of population, because I think testing of population on COVID-19 in Ukraine is not development. Provided oxygen and medicaments to hospitals, hospitalization rate example, and getting vaccine booster doses. Example, a few Western countries already use it, booster doses for our population. I used a few formulas in my model, example, delay for vax, and if for a few conditions. The model allows to estimate the effect of vaccination, considering the efficiency of vaccine and reducing the number of cases. Also, the model allows estimated possible losses for economy and the population due to lack of vaccination. Also, in the future, I want to extend it, my model for impact on the economy and deterioration of infection situation. And I also want to demonstrate my model in Stella Architect. We can running model. We can open interface in Stella Architect, and we can change model example, we can see, one sec. We can see on this graph duration from first dose to second dose, blue graph and red graph between from second to first graph. We have months duration in the period between vaccination. We can run model, we can open other graphs, and we can see is decreased current population of the Ukraine, because in model I use it mortality natural rate and natural birth rate per month. And we can see running model and interface. Thank you for attention.
Great, thank you very much, Volodymyr. As I know, you just started to study system dynamics at the university. You didn't study it when you were a bachelor student.
Yes, I didn't study. I study on economics in Naukma. We didn't study of system dynamics on bachelor.
Really great results. Thank you very much. And for those who are aware with system dynamics, you know that one of the topics is pandemic game. So it was called game. And now we can see that system dynamics approach is perfectly good for modeling all this pandemic situation and COVID disease. It's a really good instrument. And I see that we have some questions. Please, Maria.
Hello to everyone. Thanks for the great presentation. I have one question to you. Can you please tell, did you use the historical data, some historical simulations for your model, or it's just a theoretical one?
I use it historical data example in the current population of Ukraine, the healthy population in all stocks. Example, the current population, I use it 42 millions, and I use it converter who with working population in percents. Example, 60% for working force. I use it. Tax revenue is 1 trillion hryvnia. Is approximately figure for this model. Is tax revenue. This data is tax revenue by 2020 years.
If I understand it right, you receive this data from the government statistic or somewhere there, yeah?
Yes, I use it government statistic, the state statistic service, and Ministry of Health.
Did you try to match your data, which your model generate, with the data you receive, like in dynamics for a period?
Can you repeat questions?
Did you match your data you received from your model with the data that you used, like historical data?
I didn't compare this.
Didn't compare. Okay, thanks for your answer.
Thank you. Maybe some other questions or comments? If not, then Thank you, Volodymyr, and have a good luck with your future studies of system dynamics.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'm glad to invite Victoria Surovets, master student from NAUCMA. Victoria studied system dynamics at Bergen University, and we are happy to listen to her presentation. We see you here.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. I'm going to present the research with the topic of the impact of food system initiatives on farming business resilience. First of all, let's define what is resilience exactly. A high level of farming business resilience depends on 3 initiatives, which are the main components of the policy. The involvement of farmers' organizations in the process, together with providing entrepreneurial opportunities to farmers and strengthening the farmer-buyer relationship, can increase the level of farming business resilience. But first things first, let's look at the problem. While growing vegetables, farmers sell them and increase their income in this way. Over the year, level of income can become higher, and this fact makes farmers produce more vegetables. This is how the main simplified causal loop diagram looks like, with the main indicator of farming business resilience, that is the income in my model. However, there can be shocks to the system in the form of droughts or floods, and the income will suffer as a result. Severe climate disturbance harms crop production, and at the same time, an increase in production costs lowers income. Now, let's look at the precipitation level, which is the reason for the mentioned shocks. If the level of precipitation is normal, then you can observe growing behavior with oscillations after 2020. That is resembling the historical behavior, actually. Besides that, another scenario shows what will happen if there are extreme periods of droughts or floods. The production will suffer much more, and the farm's income performs worse results, as you can see on the graph. To lower the damage of these climate threats, there is the policy which is introduced in the next slide. The most used way for farmers to sell their products is by selling to a wholesaler who distributes to a retailer that provides products to the consumer. Instead of it, there are 4 offered initiatives of product supply that can increase the level of farming business resilience through an increase in income. The first initiative is the implementation of Food Hub in the selling chain. A Food Hub is an allocated facility with a business management structure, facilitating and aggregation, storage, processing, distribution, and marketing of locally produced food products. At the same time, the Food Hub is connected to a wholesaler, and one of the primary goals of the Food Hub is to give small and medium-sized farmers access to larger or additional markets. The second way of increasing the level of farming business resilience is the implementation of food box delivery focused on packing fresh vegetables. And the third initiative is the involvement of farmers market organizations in the selling process. Farmers market organizations are institutions for the empowerment advancement of farmers in rural areas. These farmers market organizations can strengthen the political power of farmers and as a result make better their livelihood. And the last, fourth initiative is selling vegetables directly to farmers market. They can offer increase in profit over selling to wholesalers, food processors, or large grocery firms by selling directly to consumers. For scenario comparison, it is better to look at such indicator as farm income per farmer. And there are two scenarios: business as usual, as you can see now on the graph, and application of all proposed policies. A business as usual scenario means that products are sold to wholesaler and farmer markets. Then when applying all mentioned policies, which are food hubs, food box delivery, and on top of the expansion, farmers market capacity and marketing for farmers market organizations. When all of them are applied, there are some shocks for incomes that appear when there is drought or flood, as you can see in our settings. But they're much lighter when all policy in combination are implemented compared to business usual scenario. And I want to mention that the funding is the same in both cases. So the saved money can lead to more savings, which means that farmers have more resources to recover aftershocks. And also, if we increase the funding, the farm income will be much higher. Of course, we can do this, for example. Yeah, it doesn't affect so much, but there is some increase on the graph. And also want to mention that to get the policy results and come up with policy recommendations, the system dynamic model, which consists of 12 blocks, was made. Its model is quite big and includes a lot of indicators. So thank you for the attention. That's all that I want to tell you.
Yeah, thank you very, very much, Victoria. And maybe we have some questions or some comments from our participants.
May I?
Yes, of course.
Does this problem exist in Ukraine, or it's only about some country like Australia with their like extreme climate conditions?
There is no binding to specific country. I just want to show you the concept of model that my team in Norway made for a specific project. But the concept can be applied to every country, because in each country there is normal climate conditions and some severe climate disturbances. So to simplify model, it was included just floods and droughts. But yeah, it's just concept model.
Okay, thank you very much. If we don't have any other comments, then thank you for your presentation. And we will move on also with the topic of food security. And we invite also Victoria and Karina, students from Naukma, to make their presentations.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Unfortunately, Karina has some unpredictable circumstances, so I will present by myself, and I will show you now.
Yes, we see your presentation. Thank you.
Yes, so. So, good afternoon. Today, we want to present to you the result on the topic System Dynamic Modeling for Food Security in Developing Country. Let's firstly discuss the objective and goal of this research. And nowadays, agricultural sustainability faces multiple challenges ranging from increasing human population growth, deforestation due to an increase in demand for agricultural land and resources, and increasing dependence on fossil energy that comes with both monetary and environmental costs. Therefore, it is important to identify policies that enable doubling of productivity and farmers' income of countries by improving the agriculture food production on the available agricultural land without further decline in the forest land with the help of system dynamic modeling. So, the modeling for food security was based on 4 main hypotheses. First of all, the increase in population increases households' basic needs, thereby creating resource consumption gaps. Secondly, food consumption per capita subsequently increases with increase in the world's population income. This further creates a pressure on global food availability. Also, fertilizers and farm machinery generally have a critical contribution to the increase in yield and agriculture productivity. And finally, in many developing countries, population growth and dependence on agriculture will lead to continuing loss of forests. So, based on main hypotheses, a causal loop diagram has been developed to exhibit the causal relationship between the variables under the study. The CLDs have been used to describe basic causal mechanisms hypothesized to generate the reference mode of behavior over time. You can see on the slide our causal loop diagram, and let's now discuss the main relationships in it. So, the CLD illustrated in the figure shows the dynamics between agricultural land, deforestation rates, food production, food demand, farmers' income, and yield. It is observed that the population is growing rapidly, putting more pressure on the already fragile food supply system to meet the rapidly growing food demand. This inevitably implies that if the government doesn't increase agricultural productivity through structural investment, more forest will be lost due to the need for more arable land. This will deplete natural resources quite fast to increase the total crop and meat production. Increasing food supply is at the very core of plenty of reinforcing feedback loops in the current system. A food supply gives the opportunity to small scale food producers to sell better besides their production for subsistence. So, inter and reinforcing loops alone. This enables the farmers to increase their income and increase their output through private procurement of fertilizers, which will have a fruitful effect on the yield, thereby increasing the total food production, closing the reinforcing loops alone. Increased earnings will also have behavioral consequences. Farmers will, for instance, enjoy more attractiveness by others of the profession and are able to employ more people as well through their higher income. Another consequence of a growing population and an increased incomes is the fact that there will be more farmers employed to increase the yield through education and eventually also food production, reinforcing loops the number 2. So note that if farmers can enhance their yield, they will need less arable land for the same amount of production. In this way, deforestation can be decreased and giving rise to a major balancing loop number 1. Agriculture productivity, which is defined as the volume of production per labor unit, farmer, is a pivotal element considering food security. Moreover, if the current productivity of farmers could be increased, the government predisposes itself towards prosperity by triggering a very strong reinforcing feedback loop. Number 3, via an increase in GDP. The positive effect on GDP will increase the food supply even more and drop food prices through a decreased demand-supply ratio. Balancing loop number 2.
hence paving the way towards more affordable food for everyone and thereby realizing this policy goal. And here we can select the simple way of this CLD, and this idea is similar to what I said before. So, as about the result, here we can see the main two KPIs. Volume of production per labor, it's like ton per person per labor, and farmer income, it's like national currency per person. As we can see, the results of KPIs with policy on have improved than baseline. So it's like if we are talking about time, so the policy just take about 10 years, and here we can see that farmer income will increase, like just will differ very much, and volume of production per labor will increase in several times. So as a result of the research, usage of system dynamic approach for food security showed its ability to find solutions for the problems found. 3 policy alternatives that were identified and proposed, namely, are reducing post-harvest losses using hermetic storage technology, education to farmers about fertilizer use, and soil improvement methods to achieve a certain level of soil quality to produce rice, maize, and other crops, and providing the fertilizer subsidies to increase production yields. The simulation results show the dynamics of agricultural land, forest land, yields, and income with population change, and the findings suggest that out of the 3 policy options, reducing post-harvest losses has got the biggest impact. Additionally, increasing farmers' education on fertilizer use and adoption of sustainable farming techniques is also desirable to reduce their productivity gaps. Thank you for your attention, and any questions?
Thank you, Victoria, for your presentation. Maybe we have some questions or comments from our participants. Food security is so important in many countries. Of course, in Ukraine, we are such agricultural countries that we mainly don't survive, don't struggle. But for many countries, it's really a great problem. And thank you and your colleague that you discover this topic.
Thank you.
And next, our presenters are Yaroslav and Marina. They have lectures now. They are in the University of Bergen, and I will show their presentation.